Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Welcome back to the Clean Collective segment, proudly brought to you by Society Brands and Primal Life Organics, where clean living meets conscious conversations. Today's segment is one we all need to hear. We're calling it What Every Woman Should Know About the Men They Love. Because while most health conversations focus on women, we often overlook the silent symptoms, the toxic triggers, and hormonal havoc affecting the men in our lives, especially those over 40. Did you know that after 40, a man's testosterone levels decline by about 1% per year, and over 38% of men over 45 suffer from low testosterone symptoms, but very few are ever diagnosed? Now add fluoride exposure, chronic inflammation, and poor oral hygiene to the mix, and you've got a recipe for fatigue, weight gain, and even cardiovascular risk. Joining me now is Funk Roberts, a 4-time Amazon best-selling author, a global authority on men's health, hormone balance, and functional fitness for men over 40. At 56 years young, Funk is living proof that age is just a number. Once overweight and battling low T himself, he built his empire, Funk Roberts Fitness, over 40 Alpha Brotherhood, and Funk supplements to help other men reclaim their strength, vitality, and masculinity naturally. His training systems have helped over 15,000 men worldwide, and his testosterone-friendly lifestyle is the blueprint for midlife reinvention. Welcoming now to the show, our expert on the microphone, Funk Roberts. Welcome, superstar.
Thank you, Zen, for having me here. And that was a great intro. I love it. Thank you. I appreciate you.
I'm so excited to chat. Let's dive right in. Toxic mouth, toxic man. We've all been told that that fluoride is good for our teeth, but what if the very thing meant to protect our mouths is actually quietly sabotaging hormone health? Research from the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology suggests that high fluoride exposure may lower testosterone levels and disrupt thyroid function. And when you factor in mercury fillings, chronic inflammation, and oral bacteria, it's no wonder so many men over 40 feel like their energy has flatlined. So, Funk, can you break down the connection between poor oral health, including fluoride, amalgams, and gum disease, and hormone decline in men over 40?
Sure, absolutely. So let's talk first about gum disease, right? Or periodontitis. That's chronic inflammation in the gums. Now, when you have chronic inflammation, this spikes your cortisol levels. Cortisol is a stress hormone. And yes, we do need cortisol throughout the day. Like right now, my cortisol levels are high because we're talking in the mornings, cortisol levels are high. But when you have chronic cortisol or chronic stress, this destroys and kills your testosterone production because cortisol, when it's chronic, is a villain to testosterone, which is our number one male hormone and our hero. So we want to make sure that, when it comes to gum disease, we get that checked because not only does high cortisol kill testosterone, but it causes a lot of other health issues and also belly fat storage. So that's one of the major struggles that men over 40 have to begin with. And let's move into fluoride. So fluoride, specifically in water and in toothpaste, that disrupts the pineal gland. The pineal gland's role is regulating melatonin and downstreaming our hormonal rhythms, which includes testosterone. And then when it comes to mercury fillings, mercury over time will disrupt the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland. Those two, the hypothalamus and the pituitary gland, are the control center for testosterone production. Testosterone production happens early in the morning when you're in deep sleep, starts in the hypothalamus, goes to pituitary glands, and then pituitary gland releases some hormones that go into testes. So when that is disrupted, then your testosterone production, your control center, can't work when it needs to. So yeah, definitely taking care of oral health is going to be one of the things that men in their 40s, 50s, 60s, and the women around them need to focus on.
Wow, that is so eye-opening. You just tied it all together. You are brilliant. And honestly, something every woman should hear, right? And oral hygiene, it's not just about fresh breath. It's a full body conversation. I mean, love your man, start with his mouth. So let's talk about your tongue. So traditional Chinese medicine and modern functional medicine agree that your tongue can be a mirror to your internal health. A white coating might signal low testosterone or sluggish digestion, to my understanding. Scalloped edges, hello, adrenal fatigue. I mean, the symptoms are there. So, Funk, how can women look to their partner's tongue, literally, for early signs of hormonal or digestive imbalances? And what should they do if they see raises if what they see raises a red flag.
For sure, for sure. So the tongue is like a diagnostic map, right? When you stick the tongue out, you can see and tell a few things. Like number one, pale tongue. If you have a pale tongue, that's potentially low iron, or that means you have a sluggish metabolism. And that's often seen with low testosterone, right? A lot of people have a hard time getting rid of that extra weight. The second thing you would think is thick white coating. I think you talked about that. That really dives into the gut issues, right? Gut issues that you may have, and when you have gut issues, that messes with testosterone and estrogen. Men do need a little bit of estrogen. Estrogen is a female hormone. Testosterone is a male hormone. So men do need a little bit of estrogen, but when there's too much estrogen, that not only kills testosterone, but that causes belly fat storage, and a whole host of other chronic health issues that men may have over 40. And the last thing is like cracked or red tips in the tongue. That is a sign of high stress or adrenal fatigue, like you talked about, Zen, and even low grade inflammation. But all of those things, again, we talked about high stress, we talked about cortisol, adrenal fatigue, and low grade inflammation, or even chronic inflammation. All of that kills your T levels. So as a woman, you look at your husband or a brother or your father, stick out your tongue, take a look at that, listen to some of those symptoms: pale tongue, thick white coating, crack or red tip, and it's time to make the appointment to the dentist for sure.
Wow. Now let's chat the danger of root canals. Few people actually realize these can harbor infections that silently tax the immune system and burden the heart. So, Funk, why should women be concerned if their partners have had a root canal, especially if they're experiencing fatigue or inflammation? Is there a better path forward?
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Root canals trap bacteria in the jaw, and the bacteria doesn't just stay in the mouth, right? Once bacteria is there, now it starts to leak into the bloodstream, and it becomes like a low-grade system infection. So that does lead to chronic inflammation. Talked about that before. Immune suppression. So when your immune system is down, it's very difficult for you to fight health issues along with hormonal, optimizing your hormones, optimizing your testosterone, and then cortisol elevation too. Again, that stress, right? We keep talking about cortisol and we need it, but all of this will lead to a decline in testosterone. And of course, a lot of times we go to the dentist and they say, "Hey, man, you need a root canal." But think about it. If you see that your husband or the man in your life has brain fog or low energy or joint pain or even mood swings, then maybe you think, "Oh, wait a minute. I think 2 months ago he had a root canal, or 1 year ago he had a root canal. Let's start to look into this. Let's get tested. Let's do an inflammation test, right, to see your inflammation markers and address any oral health issues that may be the cause of a lot of these symptoms that a lot of men have."
Yeah, so let's talk about your specialty, testosterone after 40. It's no secret that men change after 40, but it's not always just aging. Low T has been linked to belly fat, mood changes, low libido, and even receding gums. You mentioned all of this earlier, but the good news, after doing some research, and I know you might echo this, the right lifestyle can do more than any prescription ever could, right? So can you debunk some of the myths around testosterone therapy and share natural, sustainable ways for men to boost their T levels starting at home?
TRT, which is what it's known, is the only option. And that's a massive myth. We got to think about what testosterone replacement therapy is. What it will do is it will shut down production of your natural testosterone, right? Which most guys need. They need testosterone production in their body. But here's the thing: 95% of men do not need TRT, do not need testosterone hormone replacement. They can get all of this naturally. There is 5% of men that will need it. If you've ever had a brain injury, remember I talked about testosterone starting, the whole production starting in the hypothalamus. So if you had brain injuries or something that happens in your brain that doesn't signal the hypothalamus to start that production, of course, then TRT. Or if you've had any damage to the testicles, because again, that's where all the testosterone is produced, then you're going to need TRT. But that's a very small percentage of all of the men around the world who flock to TRT. Number two, TRT is not steroids. That's the biggest lie let's call it what it is. Testosterone replacement therapy is steroids.
Wow.
Period. Right? It's you're using synthetic testosterone. I talked about that being exogenous, right? It's not natural. And usually it's either testosterone cypionate or enanthate. Those are the types that are used. But these are anabolic steroids, the same exact compounds that are used by bodybuilders or athletes throughout the years. So when people think it's therapeutic, clinics will tell you it's therapeutic. You really just need to understand that it's steroids and you're, putting steroids into your butt to help you. So that's the second one. It is steroids. And the last one is TRT is harmless. Man, it is so false. TRT can cause testicle shrinkage.
Oh,
As I mentioned before, TRT will shut down your production, your natural production. So you depend on it. As soon as you start taking testosterone replacement therapy, you need it for the rest of your life, because as soon as you come off, your natural testosterone levels will plummet, right? Will plummet to under 100. And we want to get it up to 600 nanograms per deciliter. It also bounds to estrogen. Like you'll start getting really high estrogen. So, and there's a host of other chronic health issues that come along with being on such high dosage of testosterone, specifically if it's not natural. So we really, truly have to focus on changing our lifestyles, right? First, we need to get checked. We need to work out in a way that helps our testosterone levels, helps our growth hormones, short total body workouts, nutrition, the lifestyle that we have, eating foods that will naturally increase testosterone, and staying away from foods that increase estrogen, that increase inflammation, that increases your cortisol levels. Also, a lot of sleep is really key, because that's when testosterone production happens, recovery, and supplementing in some ways to make sure you have the vitamins and minerals for your overall health and your hormone health as well.
wow. I love how you brought it back to the basics, right? Sleep, strength, detox. It's such a hopeful message. Your body wants to heal. You just have to give it the
Yeah,
right
for sure.
tools. Now, the midlife male wake up call. Okay, so let's be real. Bad breath, bloating, and burnout aren't sexy. They're but they're not just aesthetic issues. They're signals from the body, and if we're paying attention, they can be life-saving, right? That's the core of this conversation. So what do those three B's, breath, bloat, and burnout, tell us about a man's hormonal, digestive, and metabolic health? And how can couples work together on cleaner routines?
Yeah. So when it comes to all of these three things, let's start with bad breath. Bad breath is a sign of poor gut health, right? And poor gut health or liver overload equals a poor detox. Your body can't detox and get rid of the things that it needs to, and that also leads to higher estrogen levels. The second thing you talked about was bloating. Bloating is, again, estrogen dominance. When you see men with big bellies, 100% they're very estrogenic. Like that's where you can see, oh, that person's estrogen. They have a lot of estrogen, but they can also have leaky gut. They can also have a sluggish digestion. And again, estrogen, testosterone, that linkage, high estrogen, you're going to have low testosterone, and as well as a lot of other chronic health issues. And then the burnout, right? Burnout is a sign that you're going to have low energy, probably not getting a lot of sleep, probably have high stress, right? Chronic stress. And you maybe have poor insulin sensitivity. So those three B's, what that looks like is, okay, there's a lot of unhealthiness going on here. Your
I know.
breath is bad, your bloating is bad, you're burning out. We've got to together take a look and see what's going on. Let's go to the doctor. Let's get our blood work done, right? It's got to be something where, if you're the woman, you can't nag. Like nagging is the worst thing to do, because that's probably going to push your husband or the male in your life away. What you want to do is try to do it together. Let's both go to the doctor and get our markers done. A lot of women in the 40s, 50s they also have hormonal issues, menopause. So, together you can fix one little T. On the other hand, menopause in ways, by doing it together, right?
They say couples who detox together stay together. And when it comes to oral health, having a shared routine can turn into an act of intimacy, even empowerment. Think tongue scraping, remineralizing toothpaste, and fluoride-free mouth detoxes. So what does your personal oral routine look like, Funk? And how can women introduce this to their partners in a way that's empowering, not shaming?
Yeah, again, I mean, you hit the nail on the head when you talked about things and like fluoride-free toothpaste, right? I use fluoride-free toothpaste, like a charcoal-based toothpaste, in the mornings. I have a bamboo toothbrush. I do tongue scraping, and the tongue scraping that clears bacteria, helps with the gut. Fluoride-free toothpaste. Of course, we talked about what fluoride can do to our bodies. And then I fast once a week. So I fast 20 to 24 hours once a week. Again, just gives my digestive system a break. And then water, water, water. I drink water, a gallon of water a day, at least. I just took a drink of water for those listening. A gallon of water a day. And one of the things you talked about was not to nag, right? This is all about love and support and doing it together. So I know, like, for my wife and myself, we're in the stage now. I'm 56, she's 54. We are really focusing more and more on our health and doing things together, right? If she buys one thing for her health, she'll buy me the same thing, and vice versa on my end, right? So get the detox oral kit. Start doing things together. And again, it's not about nagging, right? It's not about perfection. It's about progression, right? It's going to be slow. It's going to be uncomfortable at first. But when you're doing it together, it could be fun. Take a shower together, brush your teeth together in the shower. Like, make it a little bit romantic as I can be. But doing things together is always the answer for me when it comes to a husband-wife duo.
Oh, I love that. When health becomes a shared ritual, it transforms the energy of the relationship. Plus, a fresh kiss is always a win.
100%.
All right, we're running short on time, but I definitely want to get to this last question. So it's from Hormonal Havoc to Alpha Living. All right, so your transformation has inspired thousands, and I know many listening and soon watching want to help their brothers, husbands, fathers, or partners take that first step, but change can feel really overwhelming. So, Funk, for the woman listening who wants to help her man feel like himself again, what's the very first action step you'd recommend?
Okay. I'm gonna come very, very clean here. No BS. You can only do so much. Okay, I'm gonna give you the steps, but I'm just letting you know that it has to come from him, and it has to come from him only. There's nothing you can do or say or buy or anything if it doesn't come from inside. But if you do have that buy-in, if your man says, okay, yeah, let's go. First and foremost, get checked, right? First have the conversation about his health and everyone's future. How is his health in his 40s, 50s, 60s, and 70s going to affect children, grandchildren, retirement, and travel? When you have that conversation, my wife had that conversation with me. She's like, listen, I want to live until I'm 100 with you. I want us to see our great grandchildren walk down the aisle. I want to go on hikes. I want to travel when we're old. I want to do this together. And I can't do that if you're unhealthy. I don't want to be taking care of you. I want you to be taking care of me. And that little shift in the mind for a man gives men purpose. In our 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, specifically from retirement, we lose purpose, right? We don't have that purpose. So we need to regain purpose. Purpose of being healthy for our family, that we can still serve our family, is massive. So just have that conversation. It's not a nag. It's real. I mean, you want your husband or your brother or your father or whomever it is in your life to be with you for as long as possible. And the only way that happens is if we together start with health. So having that conversation is first. Once you have that conversation, I'm telling you, you're going to get a lot more buy-in because it's going to hit the purpose. And then it's about getting blood work, getting testosterone levels checked. Get to the doctor, get your blood work done, get testosterone checked, testosterone, estradiol, cortisol. Just get a full panel done so that and we all know where we are, because we can't do anything unless we know exactly where we are. And data is going to give us the map. Okay, I got low T. Oh man, I need a little bit more vitamin D3 and K2. Oh, my estrogen levels are high. Okay, so next step, I know I said one, but the third one is get a program, right? Find a program where someone can help and guide nutrition, workouts, recovery, and community. That's the biggest thing. Allow your husband or man to find a community of men who he can bond with, who are on the same journey. But those first two things, talking, having that talk, and getting the blood work are probably the first two steps, because once you get that, then you have buy-in.
So simple, so doable, and so effective. Ladies, you heard it. Start small, stay consistent, and watch your man rise. Funk, thank you so much for being a voice of transformation and proof that midlife is just the beginning. I learned so much from you today, and it was so much fun chatting with you.
Thank you so much for having me here. I appreciate you and appreciate all the listeners and everyone who are going to take action with what I talked about today.
Oh, they definitely will. You're very convincing and compelling. For those of you listening, you can follow Funk on the gram at Funk Roberts Fitness or dive into his signature Over 40 Alpha programs at over40alpha.com and over40shred.com. And remember, he's also on YouTube at Funk Roberts. Remember, your man's body is talking. It's time we all learn how to listen. For more clean collective wisdom, you can visit Primal Life Organics at Primal Life Org on the gram or head to primallifeorganics.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Primal Life Organics. Still brushing with chemical paste and fluoride-era formulas? Upgrade to Primal Life's tooth powder, powered by enamel-building nano-hydroxyapatite and real organic cinnamon oil to naturally whiten, strengthen, and restore your mouth's mineral balance. No foam, no dyes, just science-backed minerals that really work. Cleaner, whiter, stronger. That's the Primal Life promise. Visit primallifeorganics.com/Zen for 15% off. Detox your smile today.